Hello everyone. Hi, I am Rohan Kapoor, working as a cloud DevOps engineer. Today we will be talking more on Anthos. Okay, so in my earlier video I gave you a overview of basic components, benefits of Anthos. But today we will be discussing more on Anthos. Okay, so Anthos. Basically Anthos manages Kubernetes cluster anywhere, and when I say anywhere, it means my cluster can be on GCP, it can be on AWS, it can be on Azure. Okay, so my cluster can be at anywhere, but I can manage it centrally, and it provide a consistency across platform. Okay, one thing to note over here, every cluster is not a Anthos cluster unless and until we are not going to register it into the Anthos hub. In GCP console we have an Anthos service, we have to go out there and we have to register that cluster. Okay, and also when we say Anthos cluster on AWS, that means Anthos uses all the regular AWS services, or more I can say AWS resources, like my EC2 instances will be there, storage will be EBS, for for load balancer it will be a ELB load balancer. Also, one thing, we get a additional function or like a feature, that is node auto scaling. In the same way, if I create it for Azure cluster, Anthos, in Anthos if I say Azure cluster, then same, the resources will be Azure specific. It will be a compute engine, will be VMs, will become, then specific storage will be used. It's according HTTPS, if no, sorry, not HTTPS, that is something specific to GCP cloud, then Azure specific resources will be created. But one thing to note, if we have Anthos cluster on bare metal, then we own the hardware, we have to manage it, we have to take care of security, we have to, and also we do not get a feature of node auto scaling. This feature is not, we are not getting it in bare metal. Okay, also one thing, in Anthos we have to discuss one thing more. Okay, so we have a Anthos connect agent. What Anthos connect agent is, it basically enables connectivity to the Google Cloud. So this is my Google Cloud, this is my Anthos cluster, suppose on AWS, then it is my Kubernetes API server, then we have a Anthos connection agent. So this is how it will look like. So in Google Cloud, that is the agent, that is this agent that connects it. Okay, so now further deep dive more into Anthos concept. So last time we have discussed about the fleet. Fleet is basically when we have many clusters, like suppose in an organization we have separate teams, like one is dev, one is development team is there. Suppose there is a team for finance is there, or we can segregate the team in respect to, like, some team is taking care of prod environment, some team is taking care of staging environment, some team is care of dev environment. We have a team of engineering, suppose, that is building day by day new code, new thing, and now each of them have their own cluster. So for an administration point of view, when you have to manage all these individually, it's like totally a very tough task. So for this we can manage all these clusters together in a group, say fleet. So fleet is basically managing of multiple cluster. Okay, Google provides a fleet concept to help administrator to manage multiple cluster. Okay, and we create it in a single project. Okay, so in fleet there are other components as well that we will be discussing. Suppose there one is fleet networking, what is multi-cluster service, and what is multi-cluster network in Google Cloud. Now fleet networking, when I say fleet networking, there are two type of routing. Okay, the one is northwest routing and other is east west routing. This is basically the networking within the fleet. Like fleet is, suppose I can say fleet, that is our grouping of cluster. Within fleet we have service mesh, configuration management, that is all be represented. So when I say east west, that is communication between clusters, and when I say north west routing, that is how the communication from my load balancer into the cluster. So these are the two networking, okay, two ways of communication between the Anthos cluster. Okay, now when I say multi-cluster service, this is to enable to easily run a service. Like within my each cluster there will be services which are deployed. Okay, so to easily run a service on a cluster, we can use a cluster service. Like these are services that are not specific to any cluster. This is a cross cluster discovery and innovation mechanism for GKE cluster. Okay, so these are services like cluster IP, but these are discovered across the cluster. Like in our earlier concept, when we have created the service, so service are something that is not specific to any node, that is not specific to any pod. It is a cluster level resource. In the same way, when I say multi-cluster service, so these services are cluster wide resource. Okay, so these are not specific to any cluster, these are, and also it is like a cluster IP. And when I say another thing, that is multi-cluster network in Google Cloud, so in that, when a single anycast, like in load balancer we know we get a single anycast, a single anycast IP can be deployed to multiple region and routing on the base of proximity. Okay, let me give you a